from the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Well, good morning. Happy Thursday, December 2nd, 2021. Counting down the days for the holidays. Tonight, fifth candle of Hanukkah. Very, very exciting. We're over the halfway mark of Hanukkah. As we wrap that up, I hope everyone's having a magnificent week. We are very, very close to Friday. So I know many of you are very excited. This is our final show for the week here at the CyberHub podcast, practitioner brief / cyber news / whatever you want it to be. Cyber and coffee is what I really like it. I'm working on a kind of a 2022 rendition of the show now, so you guys are going to absolutely love it. So loaded show today. We're going to talk about Emotet making a comeback, internal threat that cost the company a lot, and a lot more on today's show. But first, we're live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Please make sure to subscribe and follow our channel for daily content. It's great, unbelievable. All right, that's number one. Tomorrow, Roger Grimes, the legend, Tech Corner. That's going to be dropping. You don't want to miss it. We actually have a very interesting debate. We talk about quantum. We talk about cryptography. We talk about a lot of different things on the show tomorrow. You don't want to miss it. Make sure to tune in. You guys know Roger's absolutely awesome. So we'll do that. Before we do that, though, before we get into the show, let's get some shout outs out of the way. Matt, good morning to you as well. Eddie, good morning from Dallas, Texas. Mr. McQuiggan, good morning and happy Friday. Eve, David B, good morning to you as well. Good sir, thank you so much all for being here. Good morning to Mr. Ken Morris. It's been a while, good sir. Great to see you or see your name here in the comment section for today's show. Before we get started, though, my double espresso. What are you drinking? What's your coffee of choice in the morning? Or tea? Or, some people drink Red Bulls. Some people do iced coffee. I don't get the iced coffee thing, right? Like, I don't. But nonetheless, my double espresso. Coffee cup cheers so we can get into today's show. All right, let's get into what's going on. One, a critical flaw in the NSS cryptographic library is affecting several popular applications. Now, don't worry about the flaw itself. So Mozilla made this announcement yesterday. It's a critical vulnerability in the network security services cross-platform cryptographic library. It's tracked as CV 2021-43527. The security error, which was identified by Travis Ormandy of vulnerability researchers with Google Project Zero. Ormandy named it the Big Sig. I like the name, by the way. I actually told Travis, I was like, hey, man, that's a really cool name. So it's a heap overflow when handling DER encoded DSA or RSA PSS signatures. It's not affecting the browser. It is affecting, though, other stuff that are part of that ecosystem, mainly email clients and PDF viewers that actually use NSS for signature verification, like Thunderbird, like LibreOffice, like Evolution, and Events. All of those are believed to be impacted. The issue exists because of a VFY context structure that NSS creates to store data when verifying a digital signature that can only handle a maximum signature size of 16,384 bits. Thus, signatures larger than that would lead to a buffer overflow, which creates the vulnerability. No patch at the moment yet, folks. None. So you want to make sure that if you are leveraging some of these applications, you want to try and move somewhere else, or just harden your environment for this type of vulnerability. It's nothing crazy. It's not going to break the bank, but nonetheless, it's still a significant one if you use Thunderbird, LibreOffice, Evolution, and Events, which most organizations don't, just as a general rule of thumb. But these types of vulnerabilities are significant downstream within your supply chain. We'll move to our next story today. Researchers are detailing 17 different malicious frameworks that are used to attack air-gapped networks. Now, for many security practitioners, our ultimate dream is, how do I create an air-gapped network that no one can get access to? COVID came 20 months ago and said, double dog dare you to do this. And we all kind of looked at it and went, okay, how do we do this really? Well, air-gapped networks are primarily used in industrial control systems and critical infrastructure, as well as government. So let alone that the people who are going after air-gapped networks are going to be nation states. Cyber espionage, it's a path to exfiltrate classified information, and so much more. So the folks over at ESAP have actually done a bunch of research, and they've discovered 17 different frameworks that target air-gapped networks. Some of them use USB drives as the physical transmission medium to transfer data in and out of the targeted air-gapped network, and others are a little bit more sophisticated. So let's get into that piece here for just a moment. You can see that there are non-automated executions, and then there's automated executions. Stuxnet was one of them. So the network in Iran's NAN's plants was actually air-gapped. All of it has been, but yet they still are able to make it in. It was a USB drive. Everyone knows the story of Stuxnet. If you don't, I'll be happy to do a show on it if that's so needed. But nonetheless, targeting it with automatic execution is significant. Typically, air-gapped networks try to either get one or bi-directional type of communication in and out of that network. That could be through USB or that can be through something else. In this specific scenario, you're seeing that these culprits are either attacking the still old-fashioned way of getting someone to plug a USB into a air-gapped network, or the more sophisticated automated execution, which is through Stuxnet, Fanny, Miniflame, Flame, Gauss, as well as Easy Cheese, Emotional, Simian, and Brutal Kangaroo, which is able to do it 2 times over. All are significant. They're designed to attack window-based operating systems. No fewer than 75% of all the frameworks were found to be leveraging malicious LNK or auto-run files on USB drives to either carry out the initial compromise of the air-gapped system or to move laterally within the air-gapped network. Some frameworks that have been attributed to well-known actors are Retro, Ramsey, USB Stealer, USB Fairy, and you can see that, Fanny, USB Culprit, PlugX, and Agent.btz. A lot of these are being attributed to either China, Russia, or Iran. No, I don't see Iran on here. Yeah, I don't see any kittens. I see pandas and bears. So pandas, bears, Russia, China, that's who's really behind all of this stuff. So you can obviously check out all of the show. This entire story is linked in the show notes. You guys should definitely check this out. A great way to harden your air-gap environment and audit it. How are you getting information in and out, and what kind of information? And do you have visibility to all the data that's flowing in and out of your air-gap network? It's a great question to ask. Something really important to consider. Shout-outs. Andre, good morning to you, good sir. James has got his Tim Hortons. Of course, you Canadians. Good morning to David B here, and good morning to Bob Henderson, the awesome Bob. All right, we'll move to another one. So a Ubiquiti employee has been charged with hacking and trying to extort the company. Nicholas Sharp, 36 years old, from Portland, has been arrested and charged with hacking Ubiquiti networks in December of last year, if you guys remember. Sharp worked as a software developer in Ubiquiti from 2018 till this year. He used work AWS and GitHub credentials to access the company's network and download gigabytes of proprietary data, tried to extort the company for 50 Bitcoins, over $2 million in January of this year, in exchange for the stolen data. Internal threats, folks. Internal threats. Sharp modified the logs and files to hide the intrusion. He used a Surfshark VPN account to hide his real IP address. He then logged into a Ubiquiti AWS and GitHub account using credentials he was assigned at work. My question is, why do you have access to all this data as a software developer? Where are the controls and the compensating controls around an employee being able to access this data? And why wasn't there an alert if someone's doing all this data? Seems a little bit amateur on the Ubiquiti side of this thing. Sharp himself is now being charged and faces 37 years in prison on 4 separate charges, including hacking, extortion, wire fraud, and lying to an FBI agent. Good luck to him in court, obviously, in Ubiquiti. Tighten up your controls. This is a serious insider threat story, and one that's we got to discuss here. We're having an issue pulling up our next one here, which is the one I really wanted to talk about, which is the Emotet is now spreading via fake Adobe Windows App Installer packages. The story won't pull up for whatever forsaken reason, because I don't know why. So you're not going to see it on the screen. The link is in the show notes. You guys can see it there wherever you're watching or listening. But bottom line, Emotet's back. They're now using an Adobe Windows App Installer as a way to actually download the malware onto devices. Something to keep in mind. Admin controls, scanning the packages before you download them is also just as important. And we'll wrap up with this. 80,000 retail WooCommerce sites have been exposed by a plugin XSS, a vulnerability and security flaw. The variation lets attackers with low-level permissions tweak important settings on e-commerce sites to inject malicious scripts. This is happening when we're 22 days away from Christmas and people are at the height of buying stuff online. Who uses WooCommerce, you may ask yourself? Plenty of big brands, number one. Number two, plenty of small businesses as well. And a lot of people this holiday season are choosing to support local and small businesses like they should, right, instead of big brands. And so this specific vulnerability impacts them the most. That's why I've been a firm believer in, if you're going to do that, if you're buying online from small businesses, please get a prepaid card and use that. The vulnerability, which is tracked to CV 2021-42367, affects all users of the plugin until November 23rd, when it was patched to the new 2.12 version. So make sure you get that done. WordPress users are already grappling by cascading bugs and incidents. Last week, obviously, we saw what happened with GoDaddy. Again, we're going to these platforms that everyone's running on. They're going to be big targets for threat actors. Harden your environments. Make sure you've got your backups so that you can continue to operate on the back end of all of this, folks. That's it for our practitioner brief here today. Folks, we'll be back with a lot more on Monday. Tomorrow, the legend, the man, one of my favorite people in the industry, Roger Grimes, and I recorded an unbelievable Tech Corner. It's the last one of the year, by the way. I'm taking all of December break. We'll be back in January. Like I said, new CISO talk season that'll be launching at the end of January. We'll be doing the practitioner brief will be revamped come in January, and Tech Corner will cease to exist. We'll be doing it as part of CyberHub Podcast Friday edition, and our Friday edition will be the sit-down interview style. So things are starting to come a bit more together. Later today, CISO Thursdays, go check out my good friends Renee Small and Christoph. They've got a very, very special guest. I might or may not be there, depending on my schedule later today. But go and check out Renee and Chris with Breaking Into Cybersecurity, the place, if you're trying to get into security, the place you want to be, 1 p.m. Eastern on Renee Small's LinkedIn page or Breaking Into Cybersecurity's YouTube page. So go there and subscribe as well. Make sure to subscribe, share. Thank you all for tuning in today. Until Monday, have a great rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your Friday. Stay alert. Stay tuned. The bad guys that love nothing more than to make us all work through the holiday. Let's make sure this time that we actually get a holiday off. Till then, have a great rest of your day and stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.